So, Lone Rider here, and want to talk about Space Above and Beyond. Now, this is the DVD case. The DVDs themselves are in another room, but this was one of those shows that got canceled before its time. One of those sci-fi shows that just, for some reason or another, the networks cut it out. And it's a shame because one of the reasons that I think a lot of people were disappointed that it got canceled after only one season. It wasn't just that they enjoyed watching it and well, this is entertaining. It's too bad it went away. It was that they liked the characters, and more importantly, they liked the world that had been created, and they wanted to find out more about it. See, in the very short one season that this show was on the air, from 1995 through 1996, the one thing they really excelled at was world building. They created a space in which these characters operated and existed, and they made it interesting enough that you wanted to see more of it. There were past military conflicts, past social conflicts, past histories to individual characters. It would have been interesting to see, for example, maybe a flashback to the AI rebellion, maybe, examples of the in vitro or the tank battalions that were created to fight the AIs. It would have been interesting to see what the AIs were like before the AI wars, where they existed peacefully with their human creators. It would have been interesting if they'd explored the theory of panspermia that was sort of hinted at, that these Chig aliens and the human species also had a shared biological origin. Just so much stuff there that could have been looked into. The corporation that designed a lot of the spacecraft and equipment, Aerotech, which was apparently engaged in some really shady dealings, and there was a question of whether or not they actually knew that the aliens were out there before they attacked. There was just so much that could have been looked into. In addition to maybe developing relationships between the characters, you had, a mix of male and female characters on a spaceship in a board, right? These are all young, healthy people, with each with very different personalities, and it would have been interesting to see if perhaps some relationships did develop there. And then it would be interesting to see just how the cast grew as a team. The first few episodes, it really does feel like people are trying to find their feet. Of course, this was back in the day when a TV series season was like 20-some episodes. So, fortunately, even though it was one season, we actually have a decent amount of material, the equivalent probably of 2 seasons today. So, you could see the growth of the characters in the very short time that we had, and you can see the actors and actresses sort of filling into their roles, getting more comfortable handling the weapons, getting more comfortable with the jargon, getting more comfortable being who they're being in the show. And the irony is, a lot of times when you have a situation like that where an actor is trying to work into their character, and it's a very physical acting job, or there's some other aspect, some technical aspect maybe, right? Like if you have somebody who's portraying a lawyer, although thing is, that would usually be the scriptwriter's job, because the lawyer is going to demonstrate that he's an effective lawyer by how he talks. And how he talks, unless it's off-the-cuff improv, is probably going to be in the script already. So that's not really the actor's job. The actor obviously has to effectively deliver those lines, or actress, but it's the scriptwriter who has to know his stuff in order to make the person appear to be a convincing lawyer. However, if you have somebody who's in a much more physical presentation, like a soldier or a policeman, you see this with the early episodes of The X-Files. Mulder and Scully did not know how to hold their guns, right? They go into rooms sometimes and holding the guns in extremely awkward positions. But in the X-Files that actually made sense. Why? And I tell this to, as I'm also a huge X-Files fan, at least of the old stuff. And when people point this out to me, I point out, well, but it makes sense, right? FBI agents are basically desk jockeys. They're not on the SWAT team. They're not like commandos. They don't, as a rule, they don't kick down doors and they don't jump out windows or get in gunfights, right? So it would make sense that agents who, what did Scully do? She was a medical doctor and a scientist. What did Mulder do? He was a profiler, basically. He was a analyst, essentially. It would make sense that neither of them, although they obviously had to qualify with their weapons and go to the shooting range and all of that, it would make sense that neither of them had much real world experience. So watching them get that real world experience, going out in the field, chasing aliens and monsters and serial killers and all kinds of stuff, you see them grow as characters as the actor and actress growing into the role. You sort of got that with Space Above and Beyond. You had a built-in excuse for the people maybe not being as comfortable with the role or even with the weapons or with the physicality of being, presenting the role of a soldier in combat in the early episodes of Space Above and Beyond. And the reason is that when the show begins, in the very first episode, all these people are new recruits. So any, okay, you wouldn't really hold a rifle like that or whatever. Well, yeah, they were taught in boot camp, but this is their first time in combat. Maybe they're not going to get it quite just right. And, it made sense to me. So rather than be like, well, that's just, a problem with the actors and actresses being new to the roles. No, it actually made it seem more realistic because that's probably what happens in real life. I mean, I'm a civilian, I don't know, but I imagine that like anything, it takes some getting used to figure out how to do things. So I didn't see that as a problem. And again, there were 23 episodes in this very short season, 23 episodes of this awesome show that we never got to see the completion of. And to me, it's really sad because there were so many things they could have explored. Like I said, from the shared biological ancestry between the human race and the aliens in the show, to the cover-ups and conspiracies involving Aerotech, to the the history of some of these characters or groups of characters in the show, like the AIs. It would have been interesting to get that, right? And we had enough different characters with enough different backgrounds. Nathan West, his missing fiance was a colonist on the group that was attacked by the aliens. Hawks was basically cloned as an in vitro in order to fight the AIs. Shane Vanson, her parents were killed by the AIs, and she witnessed it during the AI war. So if you wanted to have any of these characters as a springboard for looking into those past events, for developing them, Colonel McQueen fought in the AI wars, supposedly. So you could have an episode that, involved a flashback to him fighting in the AI wars that had a relevance to the present day in the show, because the AIs, of course, in the present day are not just terrorists fighting a guerrilla war against humans, but they're actually allies of the alien enemy in the show. There are just so many different ways they could have gone into the background, and so many different things to go into, because in a very short period of one season, a brief year in time, these people built a whole new world and populated it with characters that were interesting and that we wanted to see more of. And unfortunately, when it went off the air, that chance went up in smoke. So People have talked about, well, what if they do a reboot, this, that, there, and the next thing. I saw what they did to the 2016 X Files and to the. I didn't even see it, but I heard about what they did to the 2018 version or 2017 version. I have no desire to see the same poor writing, lackluster acting, and just BS dropped on Space Above and Beyond. All right, it's just no. I'd rather if that's the alternative, not have any new episodes and just have what we have, or have some lame, horrible remake done, perhaps chock full of again poor writing and poor acting, or perhaps even stuffed to the gills until it's ready to explode with asinine political messaging. Um, no, no, okay, let's just leave it as it is. It's a really cool sci-fi show that just well, died of crib death. Didn't get to live very long, and that's unfortunate because you can only wonder where they would have gone back in the mid '90s when hey, as far as the future was concerned, the sky was the limit, and our imaginations rose above and beyond. Lone Rider out, rock on, stay cool, and if you haven't got a chance to see this yet, um, get yourself to I don't know someplace where you can order DVDs. I don't know if it's on Netflix. I know there are some episodes floating around on the internet, but I don't believe there's the entire season. And these are worth seeing. Lone Rider out.